The storm had been raging for 3 days, turning the mountain pass into a treacherous maze of ice and snow. Elena wrestled with the firewood bundled in her arms, her boots crunching to the fresh powder as she made her way back to the cabin. Her daughter Mira would be waiting, probably curled up with her school books by the dying embers of the morning fire. Life on the mountain was hard, but it was theirs. No one to answer to, no one to hurt them again. Just the trees, the snow, and the silence that had become Elena's closest companion since she fled her old life 2 years ago. She was nearly to the porch when she saw the blood. Dark crimson droplets stood out stark against the white snow, leading away from the cabin toward the tree line. Elena's heart lurched. Her first thought was Mira, but the blood trail led away from their home, not toward it. Still, she dropped the firewood and ran inside, bursting to the door with enough force to rattle the windows. "Mira!" "I'm here, Mom." Her daughter looked up from the kitchen table, startled but safe. At 8 years old, she had her mother's dark hair and sharp eyes, but thankfully none of the fear that Elena had carried for so long. "What's wrong?" "Stay inside. Lock the door behind me." Elena grabbed the rifle from above the door frame. "Don't open it for anyone but me." "Mom." "Now, Mira." Elena didn't wait to see if her daughter obeyed. She knew she would. They'd practiced this, planned for every contingency. The mountain was safe, but that didn't mean they could be careless. The blood trail was easy to follow. Whatever had left it was big and losing blood fast. Elena moved through the trees with practiced silence, rifle ready, every nerve on high alert. She'd seen bear attacks before, mountain lion maulings, but something about this felt different. She found him in a clearing 50 yards from her cabin, collapsed in the snow. At first, she thought he was dead. The man was massive, easily 6.5 feet tall, with shoulders that seemed too broad to be real. He lay face down, his dark hair matted with blood and ice. His clothes were torn to shreds, hanging off his body in ribbons that revealed deep gashes across his back and sides. The wounds were horrific, long, parallel tears that looked like they'd been made by claws. Elena approached carefully, rifle trained on him. She'd learned long ago not to trust anyone, especially not strange men who appeared bleeding on her mountain. "Hey!" she called out. "Can you hear me?" No response. She circled around to see his face, keeping her distance. He was younger than she'd expected, maybe mid-30s, with strong features and a jawline covered in several days' worth of stubble. Even unconscious and half-frozen, there was something striking about him, something that made her breath catch in a way she didn't appreciate. Elena shook her head. She couldn't just leave him here to die, but she also couldn't bring a strange man into her home with Mira there. As if sensing her thoughts, his eyes snapped open. They were gold, not brown or hazel, but pure molten gold, bright and inhuman in the gray morning light. Elena stumbled backward, rifle raised, finger on the trigger. "Don't," he rasped, his voice rough as gravel. "Please, I mean no harm." "Who are you? What happened to you?" "Ambushed." He tried to push himself up and failed, collapsing back into the snow with a groan. "They wanted thrown." His eyes rolled back, and he passed out again. Elena stood there for a long moment, snow falling around them both, weighing her options. The smart thing would be to walk away, go back to her cabin, lock the doors, and forget she'd ever seen him. But she left behind more than just her abusive ex-husband when she fled to this mountain. She left behind a woman who'd been too afraid to act, too beaten down to fight back. She'd sworn she'd never be helpless again, never stand by while someone suffered, even if helping him was dangerous, even if every instinct screamed at her to run. "Damn it," she muttered. Getting him back to the cabin was a nightmare. He drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes trying to help, sometimes dead weight in her arms. Elena was strong from 2 years of mountain living, but he must have weighed close to 250 pounds of solid muscle. By the time she dragged him onto her porch, she was drenched in sweat despite the freezing temperature. Mira opened the door before Elena could knock, her eyes going wide at the sight. "Mom, is he?" "He's alive. Help me get him inside." They managed to drag him to the couch, though Elena had no idea how they'd move him once he needed proper medical attention. His wounds were worse up close. Deep lacerations that should have required dozens of stitches. Some looked like they went down to the bone. "Mira, get my medical kit. And boil water." Her daughter ran to obey, while Elena carefully cut away what remained of his shirt. The wounds covered his chest and back, angry and infected. She needed to clean them before they could even think about stitches. But as she worked, something strange happened. The wounds were healing. Not quickly. Not like something from a movie, but faster than anything she'd ever seen. As she cleaned away the blood and dirt, she could see the edges of the deepest gashes already beginning to close, the torn flesh knitting itself back together. Elena's hand stilled. "What are you?" He didn't answer. He was unconscious again, his breathing shallow but steady. His skin was fever-hot under her fingers, but his heartbeat was strong. "Mom." Mira appeared with a medical kit, her voice small. "Is it going to be okay?" "I don't know, baby." Elena took the kit and began cleaning the wounds properly, even though part of her wondered if it was necessary. "But we're going to try." She worked through the afternoon, stitching the worst of the wounds even as they continued their impossible healing. Mira helped, handing her supplies and keeping the water hot. They'd done this before, patched up injured animals Elena found in the forest. But this was different. This was a man who should have been dead, whose eyes glowed gold, whose wounds healed before her eyes. Night fell. Elena sent Mira to bed in her room, then settled into the armchair across from the couch with her rifle across her lap. She didn't sleep. She watched him breathe, watched his chest rise and fall, watched the way his face twitched in dreams or nightmares. Near dawn, he opened his eyes. "You saved me," he said, his voice clearer now. "I found you dying in the snow. I couldn't just leave you." Elena kept the rifle visible, but not pointed at him. "Who are you?" He sat up slowly, testing his movements. His wounds were mostly closed now, pink scars where there had been gaping flesh just hours before. He noticed her staring and looked down at himself, then back at her. "My name is Rafe." He met her eyes, and she felt the weight of that golden gaze. "And I owe you my life." "That doesn't answer my question. What are you?" Rafe was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was measured, careful. "What do you think I am?" "I think you should be dead. I think those wounds should have killed you. I think your eyes aren't human." Elena's grip tightened on the rifle. "I think I made a mistake bringing you here." "Maybe you did." He stood, and despite his injuries, he moved with a predator's grace. "But I swear to you, I am no threat to you or your daughter." "How did you know I have a daughter?" "I can hear her heartbeat in the other room. Smell the pancakes she had for breakfast. Hear the way you carefully placed yourself between me and her bedroom." He tilted his head. "You're a good mother. Protective. Smart to be suspicious." Elena stood as well, bringing the rifle up. "Answer the question. Were you?" "The man who was supposed to be king," Rafe said quietly. "The man who was betrayed by someone he trusted. The man who barely escaped with his life and stumbled onto your mountain more dead than alive." "That's not an answer." "Isn't it?" He took a step closer, and Elena's finger moved the trigger. He stopped immediately, hands raised. "I'm a werewolf, Elena. An alpha. Or I was. Until 3 days ago when my half-brother decided he'd rather rule the pack himself." The words hung in the air between them. Werewolf. It should have been ridiculous. It should have sent Elena running for the door with Mira in her arms. But looking at him, at those impossible eyes, at the wounds that had healed overnight, at the way he held himself like violence barely contained, she knew he was telling the truth. "I've lived on this mountain for 2 years," Elena said slowly. "I've never seen any werewolves. That's because we're careful. We stay away from humans, keep to ourselves. The pack territory is 20 miles north, deep in the wilderness where no one goes." Rafe lowered his hands carefully. "I wasn't planning to come here. I was running for my life. From your brother, half-brother, Marcus." His expression darkened. "He ambushed me during the full moon, when we're most vulnerable. Had 3 of his loyal followers hold me down while he tried to rip out my throat. He would have succeeded if I hadn't managed to break free. So you're telling me there's a pack of werewolves 20 miles from my home, and their new leader is someone who commits murder? That's exactly what I'm telling you. Rafe's jaw clenched. And I need to get back there before he consolidates his power, before more of my pack dies. Elena laughed, but there was no humor in it. You can barely stand. Those wounds might be healing fast, but you're not ready for a fight. I don't have a choice. You always have a choice. Elena's voice was hard. She knew all about feeling trapped, about thinking there was only one way forward. Rushing back now will get you killed. Then I die. Rafe met her eyes. But I die trying to protect my people. That's what an alpha does. Something in his words struck Elena hard. She thought about the way she'd fled in the night. Mira clutched in her arms, running from a man who'd sworn to kill them both if she ever left. She'd survived, but she'd always wondered if she'd been brave or just a coward. How long? She asked. How long until you're strong enough to have a chance? Rafe looked surprised by the question. 3 days, maybe 4. My healing is fast, but I lost a lot of blood. I need time to recover my full strength. Then you have 4 days. Elena lowered the rifle. You can stay here, heal, and prepare. But after that, you leave and you never come back. Understand? Why would you help me? Because I know what it's like to run from someone stronger than you. And I know what it's like to wish you could fight back. Elena's voice was soft, but firm. Considered payment for not eating my daughter. A ghost of a smile crossed Rafe's face. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Don't make me regret this. The next 4 days were the strangest of Elena's life. Rafe was a surprisingly considerate house guest. He kept to himself, spending most of his time either sleeping on the couch or standing on the porch, staring north toward his packlands. He was polite to Mira, answering her endless questions about werewolves with patience Elena wouldn't have expected from a self-proclaimed alpha king. Do you have claws? Mira asked over dinner on the 2nd day. When I shift, yes. Can you shift now? Mira, Elena warned. It's all right. Rafe held up his hand, and before Elena could stop him, his fingers elongated, bones cracking and reforming as dark claws emerged from his fingertips. Myra's eyes went wide with wonder rather than fear. That's so cool. Mira, enough. Elena's voice was sharp. Finish your dinner. After Mira went to bed, Elena found Rafe on the porch again, watching the dark forest. You shouldn't have done that, she said. She asked. She's 8. She doesn't understand what you are. She understands more than you think. Rafe glanced at her. She asked me if I was going to hurt you. Said she'd find a way to kill me if I did. Elena felt her chest tighten. She shouldn't have to worry about things like that. But she does, because someone hurt you before. It wasn't a question. That's why you're up here, isn't it? You're hiding. I'm surviving. Elena crossed her arms. There's a difference. Is there? Rafe turned to face her fully. I've been watching you, Elena. The way you check the locks 3 times every night. The way you put yourself between me and Mira constantly. The way you flinch when I move too quickly. I don't flinch. You do, and I understand why. Someone made you afraid. His voice dropped. Someone hurt you so badly you fled to a mountain in the middle of nowhere and convinced yourself that isolation was the same as safety. Elena's hands clenched into fists. You don't know anything about me. I know you're stronger than you think. Strong enough to save a dying stranger. Strong enough to raise a child alone in one of the harshest environments imaginable. Strong enough to survive whatever hell you left behind. Rafe took a step closer. But surviving isn't living, Elena. And you deserve more than just survival. Don't. Her voice cracked. Don't pretend you understand. Don't pretend you care. In 2 days, you'll be gone and we'll never see each other again. You're right. Rafe nodded slowly. But that doesn't make what I said any less true. He went inside, leaving Elena alone on the porch with tears freezing on her cheeks. On the 3rd day, Elena woke to find Rafe chopping wood. He'd stripped down to his undershirt despite the cold, and she could see the way his muscles moved under his skin as he swung the axe. The wounds were gone now, nothing but faint silver scars tracing patterns across his back. He looked strong, healthy, dangerous, ready to leave. "You're healing fast," Elena said, stepping onto the porch. Rafe buried the axe in the stump and turned to face her. "I'll be gone tomorrow morning. You have my word." Good. But it didn't feel good. It felt like something ending before it had a chance to begin, though Elena couldn't have said what that something was. Rafe studied her face. "Come with me?" "What?" "When I take back my pack. Come with me. You and Mira." He spoke quickly, as if the words had been building inside him for days. "I can protect you. Give you a real home, not just a cabin in the middle of nowhere. Mira could have friends, go to a proper school." "No." Elena's voice was flat. "Elena." "I said no. We don't need your protection. We don't need anything from you." She turned away. "We're fine here." "You're not fine. You're hiding. There's a difference." Elena spun back, anger flashing in her eyes. "And what would we be with you? Your charity case? Your good deed? The poor human woman and her daughter you saved. You'd be under my protection. No one would dare touch you. Because you're the Alpha King?" Elena laughed bitterly. "You're not a king, Rafe. You're a man who got stabbed in the back by his own family. You don't even have your throne. How can you protect anyone?" The words were cruel, and Elena saw them land like physical blows. Rafe's expression hardened, his golden eyes going cold. "You're right," he said quietly. "I have nothing to offer you. Forgive me for presuming otherwise." He walked past her into the cabin, and Elena stood there feeling like the worst person in the world. That night, Mira crawled into Elena's bed. "I don't want him to go," she whispered. Elena stroked her daughter's hair. "I know, baby. But he has to. He has his own life, his own people. What if he gets hurt again? He's strong. He'll be okay." "Mom." Mira looked up at her. "Are you gonna miss him?" Elena's breath caught. Would she miss him? This stranger who crashed into their lives and turned everything upside down? This man who made her feel things she thought were dead and buried? Go to sleep, Mira. But Elena lay awake long after her daughter's breathing evened out, staring at the ceiling and wondering when she becomes so good at lying. Rafe left before dawn. Elena heard him moving around, heard the soft click of the door. She should have stayed in bed, should have let him go without a word. Instead, she found herself pulling on her coat and following him outside. He was at the tree line when she called out, "Rafe." He stopped but didn't turn around. "I'm sorry," Elena said, "for what I said yesterday. You didn't deserve that. You were protecting yourself. I understand." "Do you?" Elena moved closer. "Do you understand that every instinct I have tells me to stay away from men like you? Strong men, powerful men, men who think they know what's best for me." "I'm not him." Ray finally turned, and his eyes were blazing gold in the pre-dawn light. "I'm nothing like whoever hurt you. I know." And she did, somehow. But that doesn't change the fact that I can't come with you. I can't put Mira in danger again. This mountain, this cabin, it's safe. It's ours. Rafe crossed the distance between them in 3 long strides. For a moment, Elena thought he might touch her, might pull her into his arms. Instead, he stopped just short, close enough that she could feel the heat radiating off him. "If you ever need me," he said softly, "if you're ever in danger, you call for me. Howl into the night, and I will come. I swear it on my life." "Rafe, I know you won't. I know you're too proud, too independent. But the offer stands. Elena, always." He turned and shifted. Elena had seen it before in small ways, but this was different. His body rippled and reformed, bones cracking and reshaping until massive wolves stood where a man had been. He was huge, easily the size of a small bear, with dark fur and those same golden eyes. He looked at her one more time, then ran into the forest and disappeared. Elena stood there until the sun rose, then went inside to make breakfast for Mira. The weeks that followed were quiet. Elena threw herself into her routine, chopping wood, hunting, maintaining the cabin. Mira asked about Rafe occasionally, but eventually she stopped. They were fine. They were safe. They were surviving, just like before. But something had changed. Elena found herself standing on the porch at night, staring north into the darkness, wondering if Rafe had made it back, if he'd defeated his brother, if he was alive or dead. She told herself it didn't matter, told herself she didn't care. She was a terrible liar. 6 weeks after Rafe left, Elena woke to the sound of howling. She was out of bed instantly, rifle in hand, moving to Myra's room. Her daughter was already awake, eyes wide. "Mom, stay here. Lock the door." Elena moved to the cabin silently, checking every window. The howling was close, maybe 100 yards away. Multiple voices, all calling out in a language she couldn't understand but somehow knew was a challenge, a threat. She grabbed her coat and stepped onto the porch just as 3 massive wolves emerged from the tree line. They were smaller than Rafe had been, but still huge, still terrifying. They moved with coordinated precision, spreading out to surround the cabin. Elena raised her rifle, knowing it probably wouldn't do much good against creatures like this, but not having any other options. The wolves shifted. 3 men stood where the wolves had been, all young and strong, and smiling in a way that made Elena's blood run cold. The one in the middle stepped forward. He had sandy hair and features that reminded her painfully of Rafe. "You must be the human who saved my dear brother," he said, his voice mocking. "How touching! Marcus. This was Marcus. Get off my property." "Your property?" Marcus laughed. "Everything on this mountain belongs to me now, including you. I'm not one of your pack members. I'm human. Your laws don't apply to me." "No, but human laws don't apply here either. You're in the wilderness, little human. No one to hear you scream. No one to save you." He took a step closer. "Rafe told me all about you before he died. About the woman who nursed him back to health. The woman he was stupid enough to care about." Elena's heart stopped. "You're lying." "Am I? He came back, you know? Tried to challenge me. Tried to take back his throne." Marcus's smile widened. "He died badly. Slowly. Calling your name at the end." "Mom." Elena's blood turned to ice. Mira was in the doorway, small and vulnerable and completely exposed. Marcus's eyes locked onto her daughter. Well, and this must be the pup. How sweet." Elena moved without thinking, putting herself between Marcus and Mira. "Don't you dare touch her." "Or what? You'll shoot me?" Marcus gestured to the rifle. "Go ahead. Try. See how far you get before my brothers tear you apart." Elena's hands were shaking. This was it. This was the moment she'd been dreading for 2 years. The moment when someone stronger found them and there was nowhere left to run. But she wasn't the same woman who'd fled in the night. She'd survived winter on the mountain. She'd saved a dying stranger. She'd built a life from nothing. She'd be damned if she'd let it end like this. "Mira," Elena said calmly, "go inside. Lock all the doors and windows. Don't come out no matter what you hear." "Mom." "Now." Mira ran inside. Elena heard the locks click into place. "Brave," Marcus said. "Stupid, but brave. I can see why Rafe liked you. He always did have a thing for hopeless causes. If you're going to kill me, get it over with." "Kill you?" No, that would be too easy." Marcus's smile turned predatory. "I think I'll keep you. A pet, a reminder of my dear brother's weakness. You'll learn to obey human. They all do eventually." He lunged. Elena pulled the trigger. The shot caught Marcus in the shoulder, spinning him around. He howled in pain and rage, and the other 2 wolves started to shift, and then the forest exploded with growls. Dozens of wolves poured out of the trees, surrounding Marcus and his companions. They were massive, all of them, led by the largest wolf Elena had ever seen, dark-furred and golden-eyed and very much alive. Rafe. He shifted as he moved, transforming from wolf to man in mid-stride, and Elena had never seen anything so terrifying or so beautiful in her life. He was covered in fresh scars, his body bearing the evidence of a dozen fights. But he moved like death itself. "You shouldn't have come here, Marcus," Rafe said, his voice carrying across the clearing. "You shouldn't have threatened what's mine. She's not yours. She's nothing. Human trash." Rafe moved faster than Elena could follow. his hand closing around Marcus's throat. "Say that again. I dare you." Marcus gasped, clawing at Rafe's hand. The other wolves, Rafe's pack, Elena realized, growled and moved closer, surrounding Marcus's companions. "The challenge was issued and won," Rafe said coldly. "You lost, Marcus. You lost your throne, your title, and your life. The only reason you're still breathing is because I wanted to see your face when I took everything from you." He squeezed harder. "But threaten her again, threaten her daughter again, and I will end you here and now. Understand?" Marcus managed a weak nod. Rafe dropped him like garbage. "Take him. The pack would decide his fate." 3 wolves grabbed Marcus and his companions, dragging them into the forest. The other wolves followed until only Rafe remained, standing in Elena's yard looking like something out of a nightmare or a dream. "You're alive," Elena whispered. "I'm alive." Rafe walked toward her slowly, as if approaching a spooked animal. It took longer than I expected to take back my pack. Marcus was more prepared than I thought. "But I won. I'm alpha again." "He said you were dead." He lied. Marcus was always good at lying. Rafe stopped at the base of the porch steps. "I'm sorry I didn't come sooner. I didn't know he'd tracked you down until tonight." Elena's legs gave out. She sat down hard on the porch, the rifle clattering beside her. I thought we were going to die." "Never." Rafe climbed the steps and knelt in front of her. "I told you, if you ever needed me, I would come. Always. I didn't call for you." "I know, but I was watching. I've had wolves watching your cabin since the day I left. I needed to know you were safe." His hand came up slowly, giving her time to pull away, and cupped her face. "I need to know you're safe." Elena leaned into his touch before she could stop herself. "Why?" "Because you're my mate." The words hung in the air between them. "What?" "My mate, my match, the one person in the world who completes me." Rafe's thumb brushed her cheekbone. "I knew it the moment I opened my eyes and saw you standing over me with that rifle. Knew it when you saved me instead of killing me. Knew it when I left and felt like I was tearing my own heart out. Rafe, I'm not asking you to come with me. I'm not asking you to change your life. But I needed you to know, needed you to understand why I can't stay away. Why I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you and Mira are safe." His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "You saved my life. Elena, let me spend mine protecting yours." Elena looked into those golden eyes and saw everything she'd been running from. Strength, power, danger. But she also saw something else. Something she hadn't expected. Honesty, loyalty, love. "I'm broken," she said quietly. "My ex-husband, he hurt me for years. Made me believe I was worthless. That no one would ever want me. I ran here because I didn't know what else to do. How to be anything other than afraid. You're not broken. You're a survivor. A fighter." Rafe's other hand came up to frame her face. "And you're not alone anymore. You never have to be alone again. What if I'm not ready? Then I'll wait. Days, months, years. However long it takes." "That's insane." "Probably." Rafe smiled, and it transformed his face from terrifying to heartbreakingly beautiful. "But I've never been very sane. Ask anyone in my pack." Despite everything, despite the fear and the adrenaline and the shaking in her hands, Elena laughed. It felt like something breaking open inside her chest, something dark and twisted finally letting in light. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay. I'm not ready to come with you. Not yet. Mira and we need time. We need to figure out who we are without being afraid." Elena took a shaky breath. "But you can visit. You can court me, I guess. If that's something werewolves do." "We do." Rafe's smile widened. "We definitely do. And if Marcus comes back." "He won't. The pack has condemned him. He'll be exiled from our lands and forced to live as a lone wolf. If he ever returns, if he ever threatens you again, he'll be killed on sight." Rafe's expression hardened. "No one touches my mate. Ever. I like the sound of that." "Which part?" "All of it." Rafe kissed her then, soft and careful and full of promise. Elena melted into it, into him, feeling something inside her that had been frozen for years finally begin to thaw. When they broke apart, Mira was standing in the doorway, grinning. "Does this mean he can stay for breakfast?" she asked. Elena laughed again, this time bright and genuine. "Yeah, baby, he can stay for breakfast." Rafe stood, holding out his hand to help Elena up. "Fair warning," he said. "I eat a lot. Good thing I just went hunting yesterday." They went inside together, and for the first time since she fled to the mountain, Elena felt like maybe, just maybe, she was finally home. The month that followed was strange and wonderful and terrifying all at once. Rafe visited every few days, sometimes in human form, sometimes as a wolf. He brought gifts, fresh meat from his hunts, furs to keep them warm, small carved toys from Mira. He never pushed, never demanded more than Elena was willing to give. He just showed up consistently and patiently, proving with every visit that he meant what he said, that he wasn't going anywhere. Slowly, Elena learned to trust again, learned that not all men were like her ex-husband, that strength didn't have to mean violence, that power could be used to protect instead of control. Mira adored him. She'd follow him around asking questions, begging for stories about the pack, pleading to see him shift. Rafe indulged her with endless patience, teaching her to track animals in the snow, showing her how to read the forest, teaching her how to be brave. "You're good with her," Elena said one evening, watching from the porch as Rafe helped Mira build a snow fort. "She's a good kid, smart, brave." He looked back at her. "She gets that from her mother." "I wasn't always brave." "Yes, you were. You just didn't know it yet." Rafe walked up the steps to stand beside her. "Bravery isn't about not being afraid, Elena. It's about being afraid and doing what needs to be done anyway. You've been brave every day of your life. When did you become so wise?" "I'm a werewolf king. It comes with the territory." But his smile was teasing warm. "Also, I've been reading a lot of self-help books. The pack therapist insists." "You have a pack therapist?" "We have a lot of issues. Generations of trauma, toxic masculinity, the occasional murder attempt by a jealous half-brother." He shrugged. "Therapy helps." Elena laughed. She'd been doing that a lot lately. 6 months after Rafe first left her cabin, Elena made her decision. She found him by the tree line one morning, in wolf form, watching the sunrise. When she approached, he shifted, turning to face her with those golden eyes full of questions. "I want to see it," she said. "Your packlands. Your home." Rafe went very still. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm tired of being afraid. Tired of hiding. You said surviving isn't living, and you were right." Elena took a deep breath. "I want to live, Rafe. I want Mira to grow up knowing there's more to the world than just this mountain. You can leave any time. If it's too much, if you're uncomfortable." "I know." And she did. That was what made all the difference. "So when do we leave?" "Now, if you want. Or tomorrow. Or next week." Rafe stepped closer. "Whatever you need." Tomorrow, Elena decided. That give me time to pack, to prepare Mira. "Elena," Rafe took her hands in his. "Thank you for trusting me, for giving me a chance. I know it's not easy. Nothing worthwhile ever is." He kissed her then, deep and hungry and full of months of restrained desire. Elena kissed him back, letting herself feel everything she'd been holding back. The fear, yes, but also the hope, the possibility of something more. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Rafe rested his forehead against hers. "I love you," he said quietly. "I know it's too soon. I know you're not ready to hear it, but I need you to know. I love you and Mira both. You're my pack now, my family." Elena's throat tightened. "I'm not ready to say it back." "I know, but I might be. Someday. That's all I need." The pack lands were nothing like Elena expected. She'd imagined something primitive, rough. Instead, she found a small community of cabins and buildings nestled in a valley, surrounded by forest. There were gardens, children playing, people, werewolves, living normal lives. "We're not savages," Rafe said with amusement, watching her face. We have electricity, running water, internet. We just prefer to live away from humans. I didn't mean... I know. He squeezed her hand. Come on, I'll introduce you to everyone. The pack was curious but welcoming. Elena met dozens of werewolves that first day. Hunters, teachers, healers. They all treated Rafe with obvious respect, but also affection. This wasn't a tyrant ruling through fear. This was a leader who'd earned his position. Mira was in heaven. Within an hour, she'd made 3 friends her age and was running through the compound like she'd lived there all her life. Elena watched her daughter laugh and play with other children for the first time in years and felt something crack open in her chest. She's happy, Rafe said softly, coming to stand beside her. She is... Elena wiped at her eyes. I didn't realize how much she'd been missing, how much I had taken from her by isolating us. You were protecting her. That's what good mothers do. But at what cost? Elena turned to face him. She should have had this all along. Friends, community, a real life. She has it now. That's what matters. Rafe's hand found the small of her back. Come on, there's someone I want you to meet. He led her to a large cabin at the center of the compound. Inside, an elderly woman sat by the fire, her silver hair braided down her back. When she looked up, Elena saw the same golden eyes Rafe had. Gran, Rafe said warmly, this is Elena, and her daughter Mira is outside somewhere causing chaos. The old woman stood with surprising grace and studied Elena for a long moment. Then she smiled. So you're the one who saved my grandson's life. I just found him in the snow. You did more than that. You gave him shelter when he was vulnerable, trusted him when every instinct told you to run. The woman, Gran, took Elena's hands. You gave him something to fight for, something worth reclaiming his throne for. Elena felt her cheeks heat. I don't think. I do. I've known Rafe since he was a pup. I've never seen him look at anyone the way he looks at you. Gran's smile widened. Welcome to the pack, child. You and your daughter both. Over the following weeks, Elena and Mira settled into pack life. It wasn't always easy. There were pack dynamics to learn, hierarchies to navigate, traditions that seemed strange to human eyes. But there was also warmth, acceptance, and safety in a way Elena had never experienced. Mira thrived. She started school with the other pack children, learning not just regular subjects, but also pack history and wolf lore. She begged Rafe daily to teach her to shift, even though he patiently explained that only born werewolves could transform. What if you bit her? Mira asked one evening at dinner. Mira, Elena's voice was sharp. It doesn't work like that, Rafe said calmly. The bite is fatal to humans. Always has been. Oh! Mira looked disappointed but not deterred. But I can still be part of the pack, right? Absolutely. You already are. Elena watched her daughter beam and felt her heart swell. This was what she wanted from Mira all along. Belonging, family, home. As for Elena herself, she was finding her own place in the pack. The pack healer, an older woman named Sarah, had taken her under her wing, teaching her about werewolf physiology and the herbs that grew in their territory. Elena's medical training from nursing school, the degree she'd never finished because her ex had insisted she drop out, was finally useful again. She was healing in more ways than one. One night, 3 months after they'd arrived, Ray found Elena on the porch of the cabin he'd given them, a beautiful 2-bedroom home on the edge of the compound with a view of the forest. Can't sleep? He asked. Just thinking. Elena smiled as he sat beside her. About how different my life is now. How different I am. Different how? Stronger. Happier. Less afraid. She turned to look at him. You did that. You and the pack. You gave me my life back. You did that yourself. I just gave you a safe place to do it. Elena reached out and took his hand. They'd been physical before, kisses, touches, moment of closeness, but she'd always held back, always kept that final wall between them. Tonight, she was ready to let it fall. Stay, she whispered. Rafe's eyes widened. Elena, I'm ready. I want this. I want you. She stood, pulling him up with her. Unless you don't. He kissed her, cutting off the words. It was different from their other kisses. Deeper, more desperate, full of months of pent-up desire. Elena melted into him, letting herself feel everything she'd been holding back. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Rafe rested his forehead against hers. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Because once we do this, once we complete the mate bond, there's no going back. You'll be mine, and I'll be yours. Forever." "I know." Elena smiled. "I'm counting on it." They went inside together, and Elena finally understood what it meant to be whole. The next morning, Elena woke wrapped in Rafe's arms, his heartbeat steady beneath her ear. She'd never felt so safe, so cherished, so completely at peace. "Good morning," he rumbled, his voice still rough with sleep. "Morning." Elena tilted her head up to kiss him. No regrets. Not a single one. He tightened his arms around her. "You?" "None." They stayed like that for a while, just holding each other, until Myra's voice called from outside. "Mom! Rafe! Breakfast is ready and you're missing it." Elena laughed. "We should get up." "Probably." But Rafe didn't let go. "Elena?" "Yeah." "Thank you for giving me a chance, for trusting me, for loving me." Elena's breath caught. She hadn't said the words yet, hadn't been ready. But lying there in his arms, safe and warm and home, she finally was. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you so much it terrifies me." "Good." Rafe kissed her forehead. "Love should be a little terrifying. It means you're brave enough to take the risk." They dressed and went outside to find the entire pack gathered for breakfast, a tradition Elena had come to love. Mira ran up and hugged them both, chattering about the games she and her friends had planned for the day. Elena looked around at the community, at the family they'd found, and felt something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Later that week, Rafe called a pack meeting. Everyone gathered in the great hall, curious and concerned. Pack meetings were usually reserved for important announcements or decisions. Elena stood with Mira near the back, unsure what was happening. Rafe stood at the front, commanding and powerful in a way that still took Elena's breath away. When everyone had settled, he spoke. "Most of you know Elena and Mira by now. You've welcomed them into our pack, treated them as family." He paused. "What you don't know is that Elena is my mate, my true mate." A ripple of surprise went through the crowd, followed by excited murmurs. "As your alpha, I'm asking the pack to formally accept them, to acknowledge Elena as my mate and future alpha female, to protect them as you would protect me." "We accept!" Someone called from the crowd, and the cry was taken up by others until the entire hall was chanting in agreement. Elena felt tears streaming down her face. Mira squeezed her hand, grinning up at her. "Does this mean we get to stay forever?" her daughter whispered. "Yeah, baby, forever." Rafe made his way through the crowd to them, pulling Elena into his arms. "What do you say, mountain woman? Ready to be a werewolf queen?" "I don't know the first thing about being a queen. Good thing you have the rest of your life to learn." He kissed her, gentle and sweet. "Besides, you've already proven you can save kings. Being one should be easy." Elena laughed through her tears. "I love you, you ridiculous wolf. And I love you, my fierce human." He pulled back to include Mira in the embrace. "Both of you." 6 months later, Elena stood in a clearing in the forest, surrounded by the pack, wearing a simple white dress and flowers in her hair. The ceremony was a blend of human and werewolf traditions, vows spoken under the full moon, hands bound with silver cord, a celebration that would last until dawn. Mira served as her maid of honor, beaming with pride. When Rafe slid the ring onto her finger, a silver band engraved with wolf prints, Elena felt the mate bond snap fully into place. It was like a golden thread connecting her heart to his, unbreakable and eternal. "I never thought I'd have this," she whispered during their first dance. "A real family, a real home, someone who loves me for who I am. You've always been worthy of love, Elena. You just needed to find someone worthy of you." Rafe spun her gently. "And I plan to spend every day of the rest of our lives proving that I am. You already have." As the celebration continued around them, Elena looked up at the moon and thought about the journey that had brought her here. The fear, the pain, the running, the stranger bleeding in the snow, the decision to save him instead of turning away. She'd been so afraid back then, afraid of men, of power, of trusting anyone ever again. But she'd taken the risk. She'd chosen courage over fear, and it had changed everything. What are you thinking? Rafe asked that sometimes the scariest decisions are the most important ones. Elena smiled up at him, and that I'm really glad I decided to save a dying werewolf king. So am I. He kissed her, deep and thorough, while the pack howled their approval to the moon. So am I. Years passed. Mira grew up strong and brave, eventually finding her own mate in the pack and having pups of her own. She never forgot the cabin on a mountain or the life her mother had built for them there, but she never looked back either. Elena became a respected healer and advisor, her unique perspective as a human in a werewolf pack, making her invaluable. She never lost her edge or caution, but she learned to temper it with trust, with love. Rafe ruled the pack with strength and wisdom, with Elena always at his side. Together, they built something beautiful, a community where strength protected rather than destroyed, where power served rather than dominated. Sometimes on quiet evenings, they would return to the mountain cabin. They'd sit on the porch and watch the sunset, remembering the beginning of their story. Do you ever miss it? Rafe asked during one such visit. The solitude? The simplicity? Sometimes, Elena admitted, but I don't miss the loneliness, the fear, the feeling that I was just surviving instead of living. You're living now. We both are. She took his hand. Together. And beneath the stars, surrounded by the forest that had brought them together, the mountain woman and her werewolf king sat in perfect peace. They had found each other in darkness and blood. They had fought for each other, bled for each other, risked everything for each other. And in the end, they had found something neither had believed possible. They had found home.